Before we start this week's episode of the CTR podcast, I wanted to record a brief message just to put at the start. I say brief. I'm not sure how long I'm gonna be talking about it. I was gonna write a speech, but I felt like this needed to come from the heart. I wanted to address the current situation that's going on for the past couple of weeks, and in a wider perspective, the past 100 or 200 years. Before I start, I'd like to offer my most sincere condolences to the friends and family of George Floyd and to anyone who has suffered the same fate as him, both in America, the UK, and across the world. This is a subject that's really, really close to my heart in terms of the way I was brought up and the way I've gone through life. And to see this still going on, it really is a sore subject for me. I grew up in a community where I went to high school with a lot of people from different backgrounds. I went to high school with a lot of people from different parts of the world, and I was always as a white kid in my school. I would say I was the minority, but it didn't matter. When I was in college, it was the same situation, but it didn't matter. And do you know why it didn't matter? Because the way that you're supposed to be brought up is you base your opinions on somebody, not on the colour of the skin, not where they came from, but how they treat you and how you treat them. This isn't supposed to be going on in 2020 after all the stuff that's been going on for the past 200 years, guys. If you are listening to this right now and you don't think, and you are a white guy or a white girl, and you don't think you have white privilege, then you need to look in the mirror. You need to look in the mirror and ask yourself, when I was growing up, did my parents have to give me a talk on you need to be careful of how you act around the police because you need to treat the police with respect or else things could go the wrong way for you? The answer is no. The answer is no, because when you were growing up, you were taught to stay away from strangers and people that would hurt you. And the police are supposed to be there to protect you from those strangers that could hurt you. Ask yourself, when you was growing up, and even now, do you have to, when you're booking your holidays, do you have to look at certain parts of the world and think, am I going to be safe when I go there? And am I going to be racially abused? Am I going to be walking down the street and people are going to be shouting things at me, or people are going to be making monkey signs at me? Do you have to go on social media and not only deal with the possibility of suffering the consequences of going on social media in terms of cyberbullying, but you have to have that second thought in your mind of random people sending you gorilla emojis, etc.? The answer is no. You know why the answer is no? Because for some reason, one reason or another, a certain amount of us in the world grow up in a world where something that they can't control, something that has nothing to do with their character and their integrity, controls their life. You may sit here in the UK and think racism isn't as bad as it is in some parts of the world, like the United States. In some cases, that would be true, but in other cases, let me throw this up to you. Go onto Google and look at the percentage of black people that get into Cambridge University compared to the amount of white people that get into Cambridge University. That's just one example of things I can show. When you see people in football score goals and go to celebrate with the fans or go to celebrate anywhere, and there's people in the crowd doing guerrilla actions to them, what do you think about that? I would, as I say, I would love to have had a speech for this, but I think doing this just outright is better to come across as more legit for me. But I do want to end off by saying this. If you have any hatred in your heart, and this is not just for black people, this is for white people, black people, Asian people, anything. If you have any hatred in your heart, just because of the way someone looks, or the way someone talks, or the way someone, the way someone was, was brought from a different country, if you have any hatred in your heart for that alone, I would like to please don't ever talk to me. I would like to please don't listen to this. They're 100%. But I would like to look in the mirror and wake up. And for people those, and a lot of people have said it quite well, for people those who think that saying Black Lives Matter is enough, for people those who look and say being anti-racist is enough, you are wrong. You have to call out the racists. You can't just be anti-racist. You have to confront those who are racist, because that is the only way that this society is going to change. This generation is probably the most woke generation there has ever been towards racism. You can see it through the protests in the street. You can see it through the posts on social media. If you have someone in your life that you know is in the wrong and comes literally is described by what I've just said, then you need to call them out on it, because it will never change. Racism is not getting worse, it's getting filmed. That's the best quote that I've seen so far. Racism is not getting worse, it's getting filmed. There's not a lot changed since the 60s. There's not a lot changed since before then. Has it gotten a little bit better? Maybe. I'm not in the position to say if it's gotten better, because I've never had to deal with this situation. I've never been stopped by the police for no reason. I've never been looked at differently because of what I look like, or because of the colour of my skin. I'm not in the position to say if it's gotten better or worse. All I can say is people who are just waking up and looking at this thinking, wow, racism is insane, isn't it? Yet it's always been insane. The difference between the 1960s and 2020 is everybody has a camera or a recording device in the hand so you can see what's going on. That's the only difference. And it's time for everyone to wake up. But I don't want to talk about this anymore. I just felt like this needed to be recorded, but I wanted to make it a separate sort of clip in the podcast. But without it doesn't have to be said, but the CTR podcast supports any movement when it comes to Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Guys, enjoy the episode. Thank you.
Taking you on a journey through the world of music, from old school hits and classics to today's biggest projects. The only station that covers heavy metal to hip hop and R&B and everything in between. The sound of the people is CTR.
Welcome everybody to episode 12 of the CTR podcast. That is right, episode 12. I know we missed last week. We missed last week because I was sort of unprepared for, the series that we've got ongoing, that I've started. I started last week by doing an album review, but I wasn't really prepared of what I was going to say, who I was going to talk about, and the order that I was going to be, talking about it in. But today, I've decided just to wing it. I've decided just to wing it because it feels, more from the heart, and it feels more genuine, because I do think it's a true celebration. I think the women of the music industry do need to be acknowledged for all their work. We started it last week by, we did, as I say, we did the Lady Gaga album review, did a short video on that. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. It's really good, like absolutely blown away by it. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know that Lady Gaga's a super talented lady, like 100%. She definitely deserves all the accolades that she has. She's a performer, she's a music writer, she writes her own music, she does her own choreography, along with obviously, the people that, also get involved in the videos. She's a super performer, and she deserves every accolade. But I didn't think I was going to enjoy the album as much as I did, and if you saw the video, you know how I feel about the album. But women in the music industry, guys, as I say, it's gonna be a 3-part series, maybe even more. I'm gonna be talking about the people, the women of today. I'm gonna be talking about your Camila Cabellos. I'm gonna be talking about your Madison Beers. I'm gonna be talking about your Doja Cats, probably. I'm gonna be talking about your Cardi B's. I'm gonna be talking about, well, we've already talked about Lady Gaga. But guys, it's funny to see when people name, and especially on this podcast, that this is the whole reason I started this series. When we did our top 10s of the 90s, the noughties and the 10s and all that sort of stuff, and you see a lot of women recognised in those top 10s, and it really woke me up to, wow, it's crazy how under the radar some women, float under. And I was responsible for this as well, mainly because I didn't pick any women either. But now that I sit back and think, if I could change my top 10, which I can because it's my channel, I can do whatever I want. I would. I didn't mention the Rihannas. I didn't mention the Cardi B's. Which, by the way, can I just say, like Cardi B, I believe she was the first woman in hip hop since Lauryn Hill to get a number 1 on Billboard or in any chart with a single that she brought out in 2018, and then obviously Invasion of Privacy came out the same year. Absolute smash hit album. Cardi B is one of those women who have just I wouldn't say shown up out of nowhere, but ever since like 2016 onwards, she's sort of smashed into the music industry and she's made a mark, and now she's everywhere. She's all over Instagram. She's all over the charts. Everybody wants to work with her. She's worked with everybody. She's currently got a remix of one of her songs out at the minute with like Annual AA and so many other Latin hip hop and just music stars in general. Just, absolutely amazing moves. She doesn't dance now, she makes money moves. Cardi B, in the music industry, absolutely killing it, as she always does. Big fan of Cardi B. I do think, as a personality-wise, she's got a bright future if she's ever decides to stop making music. She's currently a meme for the CV. I mean, that's been going on for a long time, but she's still relevant as ever. Big shout out to Cardi B. Cardi B has gone through a lot over the years, especially in terms of apparently the discrimination that she suffered in terms of, obviously, she's a Latin lady. And apparently she suffered quite a lot of hatred for that. Not only because of going through controversies such as like Pretty Privilege, like, oh, you was a dancer, now just everyone fancies you, that's why you got a record deal, you was on that TV show. And I believe she's absolutely turned that all criticism around and gone, do you know what, actually, I'm actually an amazing rapper, I'm super talented, and fuck you, basically. Cardi B, for me, is, I would say, one of the most prevalent, one of the most talented women that's come out of the past 5 years. And other people that also come in let's say like 5 years, have also just, decided to turn it around and like absolutely aim all the hatred that they've got from all, the music industry and the media in general. I mean, because you say, some people say that it's not there, but it definitely is. Like, it's harder for women sometimes to make it in this music because a lot of the arguments that people go against them is, oh, you're pretty, that's why people like it. Oh, you're good looking. Oh, you're fit. That's the only reason why people listen to your music. Someone who has been getting a lot of hatred for that lately is Madison Beer. We talked about it on a recent news episode. Madison Beer, just to give it a little bit of context, receiving a lot of hatred lately for Pretty Privilege, which to me, as I said on the news, is absolutely ridiculous. Like, if you look at how much music she's made in the past couple of years, and if you really go into her story, it's just a stupid statement. Because she actually found it really hard to get a record deal. She was independent for a long time. Obviously, she blew up recently. I say recently, in the past couple of years. Big songs. I really like. I've talked about it with the song with Offset. Absolutely amazing. She's released a really good couple of projects in the last couple of years. A lot of people are ranting and raving about her, saying she's amazing. She's got loads of stan accounts. She's absolutely fantastic. Madison Beer has earned everything that she has worked for, 100%. And you want to say Pretty Privilege? Yeah, she's good looking. Yeah, she's pretty. But that doesn't mean she's not talented. That doesn't pay the music bills, guys. Record labels don't look at you just because you're pretty. I mean, yeah, the pretty, like, looks will only get you so far. only get you so far. Just to say someone isn't talented just because they're pretty, it's just hate. It's just a load of bullshit. So Madison Beer, absolutely killing it. A load of other people. You got Camila Cabello, like smashing it when she came out of Fifth Harmony, like onto the scene with her album. She had a load of good singles. She had Havana. She had Never Be the Same. She's had that Senorita that absolutely blew up last year with Shawn Mendes. I mean, less said about Shawn Mendes, the better. But you know what? It smashed it. So she's got a massive following. Absolutely huge amount of people like supporting her. So fair play to Camila Cabello. Camila Cabello is another one of those frontline people in the music industry who's trying to fight, you know, for women to make it easier to get them into the music industry. Just like big love to Camila Cabello. I quite like her music. Quite a lot of the music is not really aimed at me, but I can still enjoy it. Absolutely fantastic. She doesn't only make music in English as well, she makes Spanish hits so as well. And I really enjoy Spanish music, so absolutely well done to Camila Cabello. Doja Cat in the news lately for a lot of controversies, but fair play to Doja Cat. I mean, no matter what she's going through at the moment, I feel like she's handled it quite professionally in terms of the way she's come back and argued about it. Whether she's in the right or the wrong, I think she's dealt with it in the correct way, just addressing it and not trying to ignore it and move on. So Doja Cat is... I don't know if you've heard of her. She's got a song called Say So at the minute that's absolutely blown up in the charts. I believe it's like number 4 in the Billboard Top 100, if that really means anything. As I say, like with the controversy which is going on at the minute, I don't know if that means anything, but if it does, congratulations to her. I want to talk about... I'm just going through all these people really quickly, just because I want to talk about so many people over the next couple of weeks. I don't want to, like, you know, leave anyone out-ish, and if I do, then people can, you know, message me and say you need to talk about this woman, and I definitely will. Before we move on to anybody else, I do want to let you know, by the way, guys, it won't be this week, it'll be the next week. I've got an episode of the intro coming out. I know we haven't had an episode of the intro for a long time, but I wanted an episode of the intro to come out to, as I say, we're going through this like women in the music industry, so I want to do an album review on a particular lady, and she is an absolute pioneer in the music industry, especially over the past 15 to 20 years. It was currently, we did a news video on it, it was currently last week the 15th anniversary of Ponder Replay, so I'm going to be doing a review on one of Rihanna's albums. I'm not quite sure which one yet. She's got so many good projects. I've been finding it really hard just to pick one, to be honest with you. Like I don't know which one to do, so maybe you guys can help me with that. As I say, like either message me privately or put it in the comment section below. Definitely want to do a Rihanna album review, like 100%. She's one of my favorite artists of all time. Like the amount of hits that she's got is just unreal. If I was to stand here and, you know, list off the amount of number ones, the amount of just top chart hits that she's had, like I would be here all day. I could literally make a whole podcast out of that, and kind of I'm probably gonna go into in the album review. So Rihanna is getting her own intro. I believe also it's the first woman to be featured on an episode of the intro, so you know, I don't know if that means anything to her, but it means a lot to me, so congratulations to Rihanna. Who else do I want to talk about? Who else has been killing it in the past couple of years? I can't not mention Ariana Grande, can you? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, especially lately, I'd say in the past 2 or 3 years, she's really become sort of, and a lot, you know, if you're a Beyonce fan, you're going to hate this. She's really, in my opinion, taken the mantle of what Beyonce has been and like what Beyonce has represented over the past 15 years. Like, you know, like women empowerment, you know, the Queen Bee-esque type of style that Ariana Grande has about her. I mean, when she first came out, she was making like poppy songs, and don't get me wrong, she still does. But am I the only one who thinks she has like a little bit of a different aura about her lately? Like, you know, like she knows she's queen, she knows she's on top. So, especially in the past like I'd say year or so, Ariana Grande is like really solidified herself, in my opinion, over the past 2 years as someone who is going to be sticking around for a long time in terms of making music. Ariana Grande is one of the most talented singers of this generation, in my opinion. She's got an absolutely incredible voice. I mean, not all of her music speaks to me, but I can appreciate how talented she is and how important she is right now to the music scene. I mean, she recently made that song with Bieber I think it was like to raise money for the pandemic. So fair play to her. I actually don't mind that song. It's pretty decent. She's had a load of music over the past couple of years. She's worked with Nicki Minaj. She's worked with Jessie J. Jessie J. You know what? I ain't going to show any hate to anyone. Jessie J. She's worked with Jessie J. Jessie J is fantastic in her own right. She has worked with... You name it, she's worked with them. Do you know what I mean? This is what I'm trying to say, guys. You name someone in the music industry big and she's worked with them. I don't believe she's worked with Ed Sheeran, and that's something I'd really be interested in seeing. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I might even realize she has after this podcast. But if she hasn't worked with Ed Sheeran, that's something I'd really like to see. I feel like they could work on an amazing project together. So hopefully, maybe in the future, if it's not already happened, that could happen. So Ariana Grande definitely deserves a shout out. A bit like Cardi B, I think she's one of the front runners of this industry in terms of making waves. You know, making strides for make it easier for women to jump into the music industry, and really sort of turning around the hatred and all the discrimination that women face, not just in the music industry, just over the the workspace in general, and just throwing it back in the face and going, no, well, we can do this better than you. I mean, and it's true. You look at the top women in the industry now, and I'd say more women than men at the moment are killing it, and it's a really great thing to see. As a guy, it's hard for me to talk about this sort of stuff without sounding patronizing. I mean, I know I might not sound patronizing, but in my head, all I'm thinking of is, does it does it sound weird coming out of a guy's mouth giving, doing this? But in my opinion, it doesn't, because I'm celebrating it. I'm trying to show love for it. But if this pandemic wasn't going on, I'd love to get people on talking about their favorite women music artists. I might even try and sort that out in the next couple of weeks. Maybe get someone on to talk about what inspires them in terms of the females in the music industry. So as a guy, it sounds weird, and I'm trying not to sound patronizing. I'm really not being patronizing. I'm honestly definitely trying to celebrate all of these amazing artists. Another person that I want to talk about is Lauren Jauregui. We've mentioned her a couple of times on the podcast. Obviously, one of the members of Fifth Harmony. If you're not sure who she is, a couple of people who might follow the starlet sort of pages on Instagram. She's currently going out with Ty Dolla $ign. If you don't know who he is, he's going out with Lauren Jauregui. But Lauren Jauregui, really good. My personal favourite women's artist at the minute, especially after she left Fifth Harmony. She's been making really good music, and my favourite kind of music that she makes is sort of the Latin sort of vibe music that she's making, half Spanish, half English music. It's absolutely amazing to listen to, or if you want to use my catchphrase, absolutely fantastic to to listen to. But Lauren Jauregui is doing amazing moves. Who else is doing amazing? Nicki Minaj. Now Nicki Minaj, and we were talking about this before, as in Ariana Grande sort of taking up the Beyonce position. Nicki Minaj over, and I'm definitely going to be talking about her more throughout this series. Nicki Minaj, for me, in terms of taking mantles, is really the new Lauryn Hill, big, Missy Elliott, Lil Kim sort of figure in the music industry, in terms of the type of music that she makes and the the vibe that she gives off. Nicki Minaj is one of the most prolific, one of the most talented women to come out over the past 10 years. The accolades that she receives, she 100% deserves. The moves that she's making in the music industry. I mean, obviously she was introduced with Young Money with Drake. Lil Wayne was a massive fan of her. And who can blame him? Nicki Minaj's albums are absolutely fantastic. And a lot of people might say, you listen to a Nicki Minaj album, that, you know, that doesn't sound great, but like listen to the Pink Print, listen to, you know, Roman, just listen to her music. It's absolutely fantastic. A Wordplay for me as well is severely underrated. If you listen to a lot of the features, her wordplay is mad crazy. I mean, all you've got to say is, I mean, do you remember in 2010 when Kanye West released the album My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which is one of my favorite albums I've ever made? The song Monster that she was featured on with Rick Ross, Jay-Z and Kanye, Kanye West was considering taking her verse off of that song because he was afraid of her upstaging him. And for me, she did. Like, that verse that she did in that song is iconic. And if you ask anyone, or most people, what their favourite Nicki Minaj verse is, it's probably that one from Monster. It's like, just smashing on, you know, to the main stage of the music industry. I don't even believe she had an album out at the time. And then just jumping on a feature on someone else's album, someone as prolific as Ye, and just absolutely stealing the spotlight. That's a Kendrick Lamar move, that. So, you know, fair play to Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is probably, is it gonna, actually, I don't know. She might be my favorite artist, like, over the past, like, 10 years in terms of, like, you know, the women in the music industry. And she's just worked with everybody who you can think of. She's worked with your Eminem. She's worked with your Ariana Grande. She's worked with your Jessie J's. I don't know why I keep bringing up Jessie J in this video. Like, I feel like I've mentioned Jessie J so many times. She's worked with your Rick Rosses. She's worked with Kanye West. I'm pretty sure she's worked with 50 Cents. She's absolutely smashed out and worked with everybody. And it's because she's able to transit the hip hop universe into making more sort of chart hits and, like, you know, more hits that would suit a more mainstream audience, and that's really talented of her. She is a finesser. She's a really smart business lady. She, for me, is someone who has really got the Lauryn Hill sort of vibe of her. Like, she's a woman in a man's world, especially in the hip hop scene, because the same with Cardi B. To be a woman in the hip hop sort of scene is, I mean, for some reason harder, and like I don't want to be the one to explain why. I mean, some of you might know, some of you might even notice it. It's a lot harder to be a woman in the hip hop scene, just because I suppose maybe it's like the stereotype of hip hop over the past years anyway, where all male rappers like used to talk about was like hoes and bitches and stuff like that, and maybe that's had like a bad effect on like the women of, like, you know, the hip hop industry. I mean, you talk about your Stefflon Dons, you talk about your Miss Dynamite, you talk about your Missy Elliott's, Lil Kim's, Salt and Pepper, who really like was like the first people who started like women in the hip hop industry. You talk about your Cardi B's, your Nicki Minaj's, everybody. Miss Dynamite, did I mention Miss Dynamite? Lady of Rage. So many people that I could mention. Your Lauryn Hills, don't even need to mention Lauryn Hill. Maybe the GOAT of like the women in music in general for me. Your Mary J. Blige, who really transitions any genre of music. And when I say that, I mean, can you name a type of music Mary J. Blige hasn't made? Can you name a type of music that Mary J. Blige wouldn't be like lit on? Can you name an artist that Mary J. Blige hasn't worked with? Like, the amount of years that she's been around in this industry and the amount of people that she's worked with, who she's surpassed, like, you know, the staple that she is, like, she's a pillar of like women's music, Mary J. Blige. And if you haven't listened to enough Mary J. Blige, like, I don't know what to say to you. Go listen to Mary J. Blige. Like, she's worked from people from George Michael to Snoop Dogg, from Dr. Dre to just everybody. From Dr. Dre to Ariana Grande. She was recently in that song with Ariana Grande, wasn't she? The what was it? What film was it? Charlie's Angels. The Charlie's Angels remake. She made the theme song, didn't she? With Ariana Grande and another lady who slips my mind. I can't remember who it was. But guys, if you are thinking, Reese, you've missed out Beyonce. How could you miss out Beyonce? Like, don't worry, I'm going to be talking about Beyonce next week, mainly because I'm going to be more moving into the noughties. But this episode, as you know, was a little bit of a shorter one, but I really wanted to, you know, really mention the people that I, like that like making the mark now as we speak. Obviously it would be a little bit of a shorter video because they haven't finished making the mark. They've got a long way to go. I just wanted to acknowledge what they were doing now and like the hits that they were making now. Obviously with your Nicki Minaj's and your Ariana Grande's, they've been going a little bit longer, so they've got more of a legacy to talk about. But as of now, they're still going, they're still making moves, they're smashing down walls, they're breaking down doors, absolutely just killing it in every single area of music, media, social presence, advocates for change, women empowerment, like absolutely killing it. And as I say, it is a shorter video just because that story isn't over. This is just like a chapter of it, and they've got so many years left to go. But guys, I do want to just let you know that this isn't the only video that's going to be coming out today. I do have an album review coming out on Run the Jewels' new album. It came out, I believe, on the 2nd of June. So I do want to talk about that today. It's going to be another one of those, quick, short album reviews. I just wanted to get that out, just because I think it's absolutely, it's a really good project that I want to talk about, and I think some of you will be really interested in what I want to say. But as I say, guys, this is just like a really short part one, and this is like a really, in terms of like videos that we've made in the past, this is a shorter version of the CTR podcast. This is just, as I say, episode 12 will be a little bit more shorter. As I say, we had the message at the start of the video that's gonna play, as you would have found out by now, before the video starts. But guys, I do want to thank you for joining me today. I do apologise for the podcast not being on last week. I posted 2 album reviews for you, so you got your little bit of your dose. I do really want to give a shout out to the merch this week. And for some of you that didn't know, I'm not sure how you didn't know because I posted it all over Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, blah 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 blah. I bought a small line of merch out this week. I only got 5 or 6 t-shirts, 5 or 6 hats, and it's all sold out, like bar 1 hat, and that was in less than 24 hours. So big shout out to the community just for really supporting the podcast. I want to thank everybody who has been giving me feedback on the album reviews, everyone who has just been here from the start. I've had a couple more fans join lately. As I say, to the new fans, I do want to say the podcast is usually longer than this, but we've already explained this is just the first chapter for most of the people who have talked about in this video. We're gonna have the Rihanna music album review in the next couple of weeks. That's probably going to be a week on Wednesday that's going to be dropping. I do also want to do a couple more album reviews, of like classic, like women's album reviews. So that, watch out for that. I might even put them up. But for now, guys, I do just want to say thank you once again. And if you listen to the start of the video, if you listen to my message at the start of the video, really think about what I said. And even this message that we're trying to put across in women's empowerment, like just think about it. Just think about the struggles that they have to go through that maybe that men don't. And really appreciate it more. Go support everybody. Go and support people's, movements. Anything that you can do that would support anybody. Anything that you could do to help anybody else. Like, go do it, because it doesn't cost anything. Being nice doesn't cost anything. Helping society move on does not cost anything. So yeah, but I'm just gonna step off I'm going to step off, my podium and stop giving you speeches. Thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up to date with all the content that we've got going on. As I say, we've got an album review coming out, and this is just part 1 of the, of celebrating the women of the music industry. Subscribe, to the channel, share the video if you enjoyed it. Go follow us on Facebook at Charts Upper Radio. It's a page, and you can request to join the private group as well. Go follow us on Instagram at the same name, Charts Upper Radio. We have got a Twitter account that we're trying to build up followers for. Really, try to get that off on the going. That's where we're going to be posting the latest news and going to be sharing some views on our, our music taste, sharing charts and all that sort of stuff. But for now, guys, as I say, thank you very much. There's more merch coming in the future if you missed out. But for now, guys, I hope you have a absolutely fantastic rest of the weekend, even though, you know, it is Sunday, so maybe yours is coming to an end. But I'm off tomorrow, so yay me. I'll chat to you later, guys. I'll see you later on in the day for the album review. But for now, thanks very much for listening. Peace out.
Chart Topper Radio.